Hi, everybody. Today is an exciting day. I have Gina R Smith with Gina R Smith Coaching and Advisory Solutions or Services. Sorry, forgive me. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I like what you do. I like the Master Health Transformation or is it Master Life and Success? I think it's kind of the combo there, right?
It's a combo there. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
love that.
I'm
So
a
tell me a little
certified
bit
health
about business.
coach and a
Okay,
certified master transformational coach.
nice. Okay, so have you been in Arizona your whole career?
I have not. I just moved to Arizona last year in November. Um,
Nice.
I have family here, and for many years they've been trying to lure me to move to Phoenix, and I was resistant. Phoenix wasn't ready for me, and
Okay,
I wasn't.
Phoenix wasn't
I was,
ready for you.
no, I wasn't ready for Phoenix, but
Okay.
I did decide to bring my corporate career to a close in October of 2021. And when I made that decision, there really was no reason for me. I was in Columbus, Ohio at the time. It's a fine city.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful time. I lived there for 10 years. But I really lived there because of my job. And so once that wasn't really a feature in my life, I had the freedom to move to a place I'd really rather live and the opportunity to move close to family and to much better weather.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You're not missing Columbus now.
I'm not missing Columbus now, and springtime in Columbus is, I might see my friends on Facebook one day and it's snowing, and the next day they're out riding their bikes. So yeah, it's
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah. No, thank you. Not interested in that.
yeah,
But in the summertime, they're laughing at you.
possibly. I like the heat though. I mean, I'm
Okay.
not going to go exert myself in the middle of the daytime,
True.
but I actually like the heat. So
Okay.
it's not as people are like you're going to be shocked, but I did live in Tucson before many many years ago,
Mm.
so I know what the deal is with the desert.
Yeah. The deal is with the desert. I know what you got to give me.
I know you got 114 day to give me.
So, how's your business doing? Is this something kind of new then that you're really kind of launching, being new to the valley, newly out of your corporate career? Or have you been working on it for a long while, side hustling it?
It's new. I tried to side hustle it while I was working. I spent most of my career in medical sales
Okay.
and sales leadership. And honestly, my job required so much of me that I really could only dabble in it. I
Mm,
wouldn't call it a side hustle. So I'm really starting just all over in a new way.
okay. That's fun. So, tell me what you like if you're because coaching can take you in so many directions, right? I mean, you can be the certifications you have, you can do all kinds of like really niching down. So, do you have a very specific that you prefer to tackle, specific problems or a person? Like, what's your very favorite part of it? I guess.
You know what? I like to work with people who are um, really high achievers, who
Okay.
are brilliant, who want to do things in the world and who love the work they do,
Yeah.
but they're being exhausted by it. So
Okay.
whether that's they're working in a corporation or their own business, and they're sitting in their space saying, I don't know how much longer I can do this.
Yeah.
And so I want to help them transform that, to be able to take an opportunity to look at how can you behave differently so that you are not creating some of the burnout, because some of that we create ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. Not taking breaks.
Not taking breaks, not taking care of yourself, not giving yourself time,
Yeah.
um, thinking that you're the only one who can do something.
Mm, that's huge, especially for the women
Yes.
trying to grow a business. That's probably one of the biggest complaints I don't even wanna say complaints, but that's one of the biggest things I hear in all these, female entrepreneur groups I go around. They're just like, "Well, nobody can do it as good as me." And you're like, "Really though?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you, and
And
I'm guilty of that.
I mean, we get tied to that feeling that
Yeah.
I'm the only one that can do this right. So then I will try to do everything.
Mhm. For
And
sure.
even when people are working with teams and other people, they won't hand off, or they won't set limits and boundaries to how much you're going to work.
Yeah.
Just make some decisions about that. So helping
Right.
people to stop that process that's exhausting them.
Yeah, I totally get you on that. And it brings me to kind of like some of the leadership things I was working on a while ago in a different phase of my career life, I suppose. It was having that leadership ability to say, look, we've got to set boundaries. And even asking people, what are your boundaries? What are you willing to do? What are you willing and what can you do? I have a question for you though.
Sure.
It's not one I don't. I have there's lots of coaching people and stuff around that, and they always do something so different. But when you say transformational, are you more leaning to, is it transformation in maybe that next phase, or just transformation in the way you're handling and dealing with that every day, so you don't get the burnout, don't get the you know overwhelm and all of that? How do you define that better?
It's really that depending on what a person wants to do, some people are at that point of like, I'm exhausted. I can't do that anymore. I just want to quit.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we put a pause on that and what's really going on? One of the best clients I had when she came to me, she was like, I'm going to have to quit my job because it's ruining me.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe it's that person that says, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I'd
Okay.
like to transition into something else, but I can't see a pathway on how I do that.
That's
So again, going back to, let's see why you're exhausting yourself and
yeah.
how do we change those mindsets and behaviors. And then secondly, how do you create a full life? And so I see your well-being as this big circle and your job is part of it. But the
Hmm.
other parts of your life, like how you take care of yourself, your own well-being, how you are in relationship to people, how
Yeah.
you are involved in community, all of those things are part of creating a full and thriving life. So how can I help you create that? Um, my goodness, some people won't even stop to eat lunch. How can you stop yourself?
You've been in my room this past week.
How can you stop yourself?
I did grab a smoothie between.
Okay. How can you stop yourself to even give yourself time
Mhm. Yeah.
to step away and have a meal for 20 minutes? I mean, I'm not talking about going out for, an hour lunch.
Right.
That would be nice. But
Yeah.
even just for a few minutes,
Yeah.
stepping away from, and I think for most of us, you're stepping away from your computer from the endless email.
I was just gonna say, for me, I have to like really work hard. When I do grab a sandwich or soup, whatever I'm grabbing for lunch real quick, I have to like consciously go, not to the office, not to the office, even if I just sit at the dinner table alone. But yeah, you're right. We're so used to just bringing it back and just kind of half working, like cramming it in our mouth and just doing our job.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that. I love those. And so many people need that. And we don't even know we need that.
Right, right. And the people who are, lots of people have poor health.
Mm.
And you start to age and the weight starts to build up
Hmm.
and people feel like they can't do anything about it. And part of that is because you won't stop and make decisions about your life to fit that in. You actually do have time, but
Yeah.
it requires you to make some decisions about how you're living. So helping people see that and understand that, and helping them understand like the value of good, clean nutrition, the value of activity, the value of your personal relationships. We've probably all known some person who says, I'm working for my family, and then came home one day and the house is cleaned out because they lost contact with the family a long time ago
Oh
in
my
the pursuit of this thing,
God.
money and success and building this. In your mind, that's who you're doing it for, only to lose those people that you value. So how do you value those relationships now? And
Yeah.
those are part of your success and part of your life.
Yeah.
And
That's for
helping
sure.
people understand you can change and you can still be successful. I know this because I went through this in my own life where I was working myself into the ground. And it took getting downsized from a job to
Mm.
wake me up.
Yeah, the universe is like, "So you're not gonna choose. We'll take care of this for
We'll
you."
take care of this for you, and now you can go to all the medical
Yeah.
appointments you cancel because,
Mhm.
I mean, don't you agree? You go, "Oh, I have a doctor's appointment. Now I gotta work. I can't go."
You're like, "I'll just reschedule."
Yeah,
Yeah, I have yeah.
and,
Yeah,
it's this things like that, and it's the things that you do to take care of your well-being that you often aren't doing, and then you go, "Well, I got all this time now." And in that space of time, though, I realized, you know what? You can be working really hard. You can be performing well. I happen to be in a division that my company sold off to another company, and they didn't need the people.
mm,
Um, so someone could be in a room right now putting a line through your name, and you are sacrificing your personal well-being.
mhm.
You're sacrificing your relationships. You are in poor health
Yeah,
because you get up and the first thing you do is grab your phone in the morning and start working. And
it's
then
so
found
true.
once I found work again, I realized I'm doing this in a different way because during that time, I had off, I started taking care of myself. I started working out. I started eating well. I started taking care of relationships. I started having fun. I mean, a
Yeah,
lot of people aren't having any fun.
I know.
It's work, work, work. It's
That
work.
that is so true.
And when
Yeah,
I went back to work, I really had some different boundaries too. I had some boundaries around how many hours I was gonna work
I love
because I realized the endless work for most of us, it will be there tomorrow.
mhm.
And certainly people work with deadlines or projects, but for most of the stuff, it's there tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you're working and working and working, and the pile just keeps filling up. It's gonna be there tomorrow. You can still be excellent, and you can still win awards, all of which I did
That's
in the new way I was working. And I would have people say things to me like, "I don't know how you get up and work out, but it's because I made a choice in my life.
yeah.
It's because I changed some things." So that became a sacred time for me that doesn't get overtaken by work.
Yeah. And if you plan it better, right? I mean, you probably are putting yourself to bed at a decent hour. I'll catch myself work, 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 and then I go to bed. And because my brain won't shut down, I'll turn on the TV and I'm like, I just laid here for 2 more hours or, an hour and a half, whatever. And then I feel bad. I'm like, I wasted that. I could have been working. And then it's like, oh my God, like, when is it enough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And,
When is it enough?
I hear so often from people, "I don't have time. I don't have time for all the list of things that are beneficial to you and to
Yeah.
your well-being." But you do have time. It's managing those boundaries and managing yourself within that time and making some choices and decisions.
Yeah. I mean, think about when you do take that one day off to go to the lake or whatever it is you want to do, hiking, or the few hours you come back, nothing was in crisis. But we feel like everything's going to fall apart if
Right.
we're not right here to like handle it.
I was reading something the other day, I'm sorry, about, vacation time, and it said only 50% of Americans take their allotted vacation.
Yeah.
So there are people that don't even take their vacations. I used to be a person who worked on vacation,
Mm.
had to have my computer and my phone.
Yeah. Now, do you feel like that is more? I think we might be getting better as a society, but when you think back to that little bit in your career when you would do that, do you feel like that's you putting, an unlimited boundary around yourself where then your boss and others feel like, or do you feel like employers expect that because it's so easy to be accessible? It's like, well, you're at your hotel, so can't you just get your phone email for a minute and answer me? Do you think it's more of an expectation, or we put it out there like it's okay, I'll get it if you send it?
I think it's both. I think some of it was me just being like, "I need to know what's going on every day." Even though I had people supporting me, even though I handed off my customers to my boss, I still felt like I needed to know everything going on.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. But I think the other thing, you do have companies that say, "Well, we expect you to check your email." So that completely defeats the purpose of vacation. And then, when you do that, you're sneaking off, or people are mad at you because they want to do something and you're like, I gotta do this on my computer.
You're sneaking off from your beach chair.
You're sneaking off. Yeah.
You're gone 35 minutes.
I need to go back up to the cabin.
I know.
Yeah, because I know this stuff because I did it. Um, I remember one time me and two of my two brothers all had corporate jobs, and we were at my parents' house for Thanksgiving, and they had one of those kind of half walls coming up a stair, and we had our phones lined up on there, like competing for the plug space. And my mom was like, "What is this? I thought you were all on vacation." And we were like, "Oh no, there's our personal phone and our work phone. We have to have these phones with us, and all the time." And so some of it is we've been trained
Yeah.
not to let it go, because company gives you a computer, company gives you a phone, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're supposed to be available 24/7.
Right.
We used to joke in my last company that you have to leave the country to really take a vacation because we couldn't take our computers out of the country.
Oh,
So,
perfect. You're like, "So I'm going to Japan." Uh,
yeah, yeah.
Paris, Texas.
Yeah. So, I mean, life really shouldn't be that way, but
Yeah.
we've been trained now with the advancements in technology to live that way. And
Right.
again, you can still be excellent. You can still succeed. You can still exceed living differently. And that's what I'm trying to help people learn to do, so that if you do have a career you love and you think you have to leave it because it's put you in such a place of exhaustion and dysfunction, you don't really have to do that, but you can make some changes that allow you to continue to do what you love.
Yeah,
If
that's
it's if it's time for you to leave, well, let's talk about how you make a plan to transition yourself to something else.
right. Yeah. So if you had to give some of our, women or people that are going to watch this, do you have any quick tips to like, I guess I would ask for a couple if you had tips to recognize, because I think sometimes people don't recognize the direction they're headed to, that crazy burnout or that crazy overwhelm. It just happens and you're like, what the heck? So if you had any thoughts on that, I think that's hugely beneficial. And then once you do recognize, what's like one of the first things you should do? Implement boundaries or take some time? What's the best?
I think, people need to just pause, because we don't pause. Life is
Mhm.
happening so fast,
Yeah.
and the speed of it is just going to keep advancing as time advances, because that's what happens in humanity.
Right.
Is really take a pause and look at what's going on. What is really going on? You're working, 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
Why? What's
Yeah.
driving that? Are you driving that? Like you said, well, instead of laying in bed, I can't sleep, might as well do a couple of more hours of work. Are you driving that? Is the company driving that?
Right.
Are you in a role that is really overwhelming and needs to be done by two people? I was talking to somebody recently who said, I'm doing the jobs of two people. And they went to their boss and said, two people used to do this job before. I'm doing the jobs of two people. These functions don't even match up.
Yeah.
So I need some help.
Right.
And being able to go and say, I need some help, or being able to just say to yourself, here's my limit for working today.
I'm done at noon because you've had me since 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. You're right. And I think that comes on both sides, like you're saying, because for me, sometimes I sit and think the same. I'm like, dang it, what is the big deal? Like, why are you working Saturday and Sunday? Because I try to take Sundays off. I want to be with my granddaughter. That was part of the when she was going to be born. I'm like, I get her on Sundays. She's 2 now, almost 2. A lot of times I'm like, okay, quick nap. And then I'll like run down to work. If I'm not quite finished, I'll be like, hey, Hannah Abby, watch. She'll come in here and sit on my couch in my office and watch a show while the girls play with her. And I'm like quickly like side eyeing watching her. I feel bad. I'm like, why? I put my own deadlines on myself. I don't have a boss. So I'm like, Susie, you can push the deadline. Like,
Yeah.
It's the deadline. But
And we overload ourselves.
Mhm.
We have our own, those of us who have our own businesses often overload ourselves.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you're in control of that.
I know.
You're in control of that activity. So I would say pause, which people don't like to do, and take a look at what's happening.
Yeah.
And then I like to ask people to just make one choice. Just make what one thing would make this better for you?
Hmm. That's good.
So would it be taking that 20 minutes for lunch? Would it be taking 20 minutes at some point in the day and walking outside in the fresh air?
Yeah.
Would it be not going into your office at 6 a.m.?
Yeah. Do you find that a hard question for people to answer?
It
Yeah,
is.
I figured it would be. You're like, "I don't know." You're like, "That's why I'm here. I will help you understand.
We'll help you drill down to the one thing.
Yeah, I'll help you."
I will help you understand.
So then you talked about your previous corporate job, working you to the bones, them, you, all of the above. That's what made you decide this is the route I want to go. And this is the type of coaching I want to do. That was
Yeah,
like a lot of
that's
your.
very much influenced the direction I'm going in. And,
Okay.
it's really underneath the surface, it's leadership. It's leading yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And teaching people. It's interesting that you say it that way because there's so many very good leaders and very people very efficient,
Mhm.
good, but then when it comes to their own self, managing their own life, managing all of that, it's almost like they have no skill. You're
Mhm.
like, did
Exactly.
you give all your skills away?
Yeah. And leading yourself is really the number one job.
Mm,
And leading yourself helps you become a better leader.
yeah. Yeah, that is very true. So you just like making me feel bad over here.
That is not my intention.
No, no, totally fine. I'm just in the middle of a launch, so I'm like
Okay.
super
Yeah.
loaded. So it happens. But you know what? The bonus is when you work for yourself in that is at least I'm loving every second of it. It's
Good.
like for me, it's what I love. So I'm not sad about it, but I
Yeah.
do. And because of that, it can sometimes make that worse because I'm not over here mad and sad about it. I'm loving it,
Yeah.
forgetting that I've got children on the other side of the door. So yeah, I have to remember. And I think we all kind of do in those regards. So probably pros and cons to a lot to being self-employed.
Yeah. I think certainly in any job or
Mhm.
business, there are times when you have to do extreme effort. You're launching a product or a program or something. Of course, you're
Yeah,
not going to work just normal hours, but if that's your way of being, that's a very different thing.
true. True. So what is your what's a favorite kind of fun fact about you or something interesting that not a lot of us know?
I'm an avid cyclist.
Okay.
So I found two riding groups I ride with here in Phoenix, and I'm learning to ride in Phoenix, which is very different than Columbus, Ohio, because it's a lot of urban riding.
Okay.
Versus in Columbus, in a much smaller city, and you could get out in the countryside in a few minutes, and there's no getting out in the countryside here
That's
unless you go really far.
yeah. So you have what street lights, traffic, people, all
Yeah.
of it. How so then how is that? If you did it in Ohio where you had, country and you could just go, I could imagine it being like such a meditative kind of thing when you can just go for miles on a country road and you're just like in your zone. You almost can't do that here. Or do you just train yourself to do it differently? Because you have to be aware of what's happening, right? Every direction.
Yeah. I think I'm learning to do it differently because
Okay.
you do really have to be aware. I mean, there's a lot of good bike infrastructure here, but you still have to watch for, I don't know, things on the road,
Yeah.
cars, making sure people are really stopping at red lights or stop signs or whatever before you go through. But then there's sometimes we're on the canal paths, so it's a less risk.
Oh, yes, true. Okay.
And sometimes, a lot of times we start riding early in the morning, so you're on the road and there aren't as many cars. So you might have space to get into that kind of zone because you're not really as concerned about the volume of cars.
Yeah, that's nice. So you mentioned family here. Is that children?
I don't have children, but my mom is here, one of my siblings and their family, and a bunch of in-laws and cousins and various people are here. Yeah.
Nice. So then are they from, are you originally from this area, or they're from, or did everybody just move?
My brother moved here in, gosh, 38 years ago or something, like a really long time ago.
Mhm.
Um, and my mom moved here after my dad passed away 12 years ago.
Okay.
And my brother's family's here. So his daughter and grandkids and,
Yeah.
you know,
Seemed like a good place for a mom to go.
seemed like a good place for mom to go. Yeah, she was in Missouri at the time, and she wanted to get out of the Missouri
Mom's
weather.
like, so I'm on my way.
Mom's like, "Yeah, I'm out of this mess."
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Well, that's fun. Well, I appreciate the conversation. It's so fun to get to know a lot of our members and a lot of the things they do. And everybody does something so amazing and so different, which I love.
Mhm.
Love learning that. And, reach out to me anytime, however we can support you, help you, connections. We love to do that. And
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, I hope I see you at the upcoming happy hour and other events we have going on. It'd be great.
I am planning to be there, so
Oh,
I will make
nice.
sure that we connect there.
Yes, I'm very excited. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're
It's been
welcome.
fun.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.